a series of slides that explains why our relationship with China has changed forever based on what China is attempting to accomplish. And I called it China's 10-point plan for world dominance without firing a single shot. So let's get started. First thing they're going to do, and they have been doing, is enrich the elite in the target countries. So what they've been doing is that they intuitively know that if you can control the 1% or have the 1% sympathetic to you, that they can then control their 3% of their bureaucracy, which then controls the 10% of their police force, if you will, then controls the rest of the population. And what we saw was, look at the vote they had on the Uyghurs in the UN. They had 50 countries that supported China's methods of dealing with that province. Pretty amazing. And it's because of things like this. They also provide sweetheart joint venture deals to enrich and control those same elites. They give special access to China's markets. And I'm going to get to how they can really make that happen in the future. And they hire thought leaders into think tanks. And they do that in Europe. They've done it in the United States. I mean, they've already captured some of our elites as well. Integrate countries into the Belt and Road. This is the only thing that you really see. You hear Dominance 2025, which they backed off. They figured that was bad marketing. And Belt and Road, basically Marco Polo, Silk Road route. And they're smart to do it because they have a problem. They can't feed themselves. They don't have enough energy resources. And they have to secure their supply lines because basically the U.S. Navy, the Australian Navy, and the Indian Navy and Air Forces. It's a problem for them. And so what they're trying to do is create basically a sea route, an overland route, and also shorter sea routes on the other side of India to move their goods and commodities back and forth. And they're paying or lending to create the appropriate infrastructure projects. They're enriching the political elite. You saw the Malaysian president just go nuts because of the crappy deals they got put into because of the bribery they did to some of the ministers. And Pakistan's a mess too, but they're gaining control over Pakistan's elite as well. They provide below market or trade financing to target industries or people, and they sell it below cost to blow out other countries too. So these are some of the targets they use, tactics they use, and I just discussed that. They're trying to ensure energy supply lines. Look, they're trying to integrate countries with China's 5G technology, their Huawei, however the hell they say that name. But they're using that to basically hopscotch the United States. And so they want to be the next generation NSA. They want to control the conversations that are happening. And they want to be able to monitor the technology, create the backdoors that the Americans already have. They want to link all target countries with next-gen gear at favorable pricing. Basically, get it in there. It's the old razor and blade approach. And once they get it in, then they can control the infrastructure. They can control the upgrade cycles, yada, yada, yada. They're basically trying to checkmate America's chip dominance. They want to control that next generation. And that's the big war that Trump is having right now with them. And we have to watch it. China's social control tools. I mean, this is amazing what they have done. Basically, everybody now is given a score in China. They're going to export that technology. In this way, how you can carrot and stick people by being able to isolate every individual separately by saying, if you do this or say this or don't do this or don't say this, we can ruin your score, that you could be locked out of any public anything. You could be locked out of purchasing certain things. And when the next slide I'm going to show you is going to show you how they can completely control what you purchase, and also their facial recognition programs too for further control. They're going to export that to all those other countries. Those dictators are like, wow, I can control my people without showing a heavy hand. It's basically like an invisible collar on every citizen in these countries. Pretty scary. And it's coming to a theater near you. They're going to integrate target countries with China's digital monetary control tools. Look, they learned a lot from Bitcoin. They're going to create their own own coin, but they're creating a blockchain behind it. And when you have a blockchain behind every purchase, okay, and you eliminate cash, you can control what is bought and what is sold. You know what is bought and what is sold. So that literally you can bribe people, you can blackmail people, you can tell people if you vote a certain way or you don't buy a certain product. I mean, you get to the point where China can say to the United States, I'm giving you complete access to my markets. You can have complete access, you give us complete access to your markets, and then they can go into the social control tool and tell people that if you buy American products, you lose points. If you buy products made in China, you gain points. And we can monitor it all through the digital blockchain. And once they do that, basically you have to buy what they tell you to buy and sell what they tell you to sell. And you can't hide your money. So it's pretty amazing. And you get rid of a lot of issues this way if you're a dictator, okay? And, you know, I basically call this is the mark of the beast. You know, for people who don't think the end of the world is going to come here, and that God didn't foresee some of this stuff, it's right out here, right in front of us. It's just amazing. Okay, you can't buy or sell without this mark. There you go. China's rolling it out. Okay, the ultimate goal here is to detarget companies from the SWIFT banking system. This is the United States cudgel, if you will, in controlling like North Korea, Iran, other countries, Russia, by not letting them have access to the dollar system and the banking systems. Well, once China gets enough critical mass, they can say we can give a rat's ass about your SWIFT system. We're going to decouple. And oh, by the way, Europe, hey, we'll give you special access to our markets, but you got to drop the SWIFT system too. The Europeans will roll in a heartbeat because they have no soul. The Middle East, they don't care. You know, as long as those kingdoms can feel that they're not going to be rolled over, then you're going to see them bail out of the SWIFT system too. I think the Americans overplayed that hand, and I think it's going to come back to bite them. Gain control of strategic metals in Africa and Russia. America has a huge Achilles heel. There are a lot of metals that we do not produce inside of our borders. Canada has some of them, Australia has some of them, Mexico has some of them, but the majority of them are sitting in Africa and in Russia. And then China has rare earths, more like the processing of rare earths. And if they gain control of this and create embargoes to America, that's why I always wonder why we're such idiots with the way we play against Russia, is that, Russia controls our ability to do certain things. And so, whoops, and I got a buy system here. Well, you got a chance to see this in action here. So, they have the ability to basically crush our high-tech industries, and also they anything to do with next-gen technologies is going to require this stuff. And I think the goal here is if you can isolate America from Europe and Africa, you win the game of Risk. And I think maybe not to the point where America is going to be crushed, but America definitely will lose a lot of dominance if everything starts to swing in China's direction here. And Europe will be easy. Europe's going to go wherever it's going to cause for survival. They've already are stratified. The elites play by a different game. All you have to do is look at Brexit, look at Brussels. And then destroy the dollar hegemony and then America just becomes another country. All right. The things that America has that's unique are kind of slipping away a little bit, right? So, China's going to try to dominate on the tech side. Food, Brazil is creating basically another America inside its borders. Southern Russia has been able to show they could produce grains, and so things that we can use as kind of hanging over the head of people, as long as China can get their Belt and Road thing going and not have that get terminated, that supply chain can provide food, and they'll be able to co-opt the South Americans too. So it's going to be it's going to be an interesting game here when we lose SWIFT, and if they get people off the dollar, they can force people onto this China blockchain, or they can force them onto other things, and the next thing you know, the dollar is really not needed anymore, and then America is going to be able to not be able to spend like they're spending, and a lot of that's going to be defense spending that's going to get wiped. And they're going to gain control of next generation technologies. You're looking at space, biotech, AI, robotics. I don't think people know a lot of our drugs in America and Europe are produced in China. Pretty scary, huh? You didn't know that. And they're making a big move in space. And biotech, they're using the CRISPR system. They're creating some next gen stuff that is kind of right out of the scenes of Revelation, right? So there's going to be combining with AI and robotics, it's kind of right out of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies too. And I think America still has an edge in AI robotics, but the Chinese are pushing really hard there. In quantum computing, America has an edge in quantum computing, but doesn't mean that stuff can't get stolen. And that's one of the things that China does. And they integrated themselves and ingratiated themselves in universities, research think tanks, and they're just stealing IP like it's going out of style. In summary, that's their plan, and I think they're executing pretty well so far on it. We're talking this is like a 10 to 20 year process, and America is mired down in some pretty petty crap right now. We're not thinking strategically at all. We have we have a party that only cares about gaining control at any cost, and we have some pretty big Achilles heels too, but the Chinese have some as well. They may run out of runway before they can do this, and I'll talk about that in a future video. Anyway, I just wanted to get my thoughts out for people, and really have people understand. People aren't in America